If you're not sure what players you should be buying and selling ahead of game week 23, don't worry, I've got you covered in today's video. And starting off today's transfer targets video, we are going to talk about Mohamed Salah and what to potentially do with him in game week 23. Obviously, we got news before the deadline in game week 22 that Mo isn't going to be ready for the game in game week 22 and probably is very unlikely going to miss game week 23 as well. Obviously, it is kind of being rumoured that the injury isn't as worse as feared when he did come back from AFCON, but I do imagine they kind of will take it steady. Now, my position on Mohamed Salah, I hold him this week for KDB, and I think even going into game week 23, unless we get some news, I probably still would be looking to sell him for the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, for Manchester City players in general, because they have got that double game week confirmed. Now, if Liverpool don't get this double game week 25 confirmed, obviously it's been kind of going around the FPL community that, you know, this double game week is pretty much kind of taking place and it's going to happen, but there's still been no announcement. I thought this week we probably would get the announcement that this is going to happen, but it's still not happened, and this is kind of closing in. Each day we do get closer and closer to that double game week potential for Liverpool, that double game week 25 deadline, and the closer and closer we get, the less it is actually going to happen, because fans, you know, transport, trains, policing, all these kind of issues need to be addressed before obviously those games can go in, and the closer and closer we get to that, you do feel it is more and more less likely that that double is going to take place. And I think if that is the situation, holding off Salah, potentially if you've already sold him and he's back for game week 24, if we don't get confirmation of that double, then I would just avoid him. Because he would play the game in game week 25, cool, whatever. But then he'd blank in game week 26, probably going to blank in game week 29 as well, with Liverpool progressing in the FA Cup as well. So you're kind of looking at it and you're thinking, maybe, you know, if they don't get this double confirmed, could we realistically go without Salah for a couple more game weeks? I think that is definitely a solution in my mind at the moment. That's the way that I'm thinking. But obviously in FPL and kind of football in general, these things can change very quickly. But I would argue that for game week 23, I probably still would be looking to sell. That is my current suggestion on Mohamed Salah as well, unless we get a definitive answer from Jurgen Klopp in his next update and some more kind of time frame around this potential injury, and if Liverpool are getting that double in game week 25. But let me know if you've got Mohamed Salah. What are your current thoughts? What are you planning on doing with him? And let's move on to the next section. Newcastle United as a team is kind of the next section in today's video. It's a team I've wanted to talk about and kind of identify some of their players. The run they've got coming up is absolutely stupendous. Luton at home, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth. Then they play in blank game week 26. They do take on Arsenal, so not the easiest of fixture, but at least they have a fixture. Then Wolves, then Chelsea, and then they're probably going to be blanking in game week 29 with a favourable FA Cup quarter-final fixture against Blackburn Rovers. So you would imagine that they would progress in that one and get through to the next stage. So probably going to blank in game week 29. But up until that point, there are some super ridiculous fixtures. Luton, obviously, I know, put in a very strong performance tonight against Brighton. But with it being at home, I do feel that Newcastle should edge out them and go, you know, be the victors in that one. Then you've got Nottingham Forest away. They seem a little bit all over the shop at the moment. You know, new signings potentially coming in. They don't seem very confident in their goalkeeper. This FFP charge as well hanging over them. So I do think they potentially could face some issues. Bournemouth as well, a little bit rocky, but then at the same time looking pretty solid. They do have the fixture in game week 26. Wolves as well, very much a Jekyll and Hyde side. It's very hard to predict what Wolves are going to turn up on that one. Again, another home fixture for Newcastle United. So out of the run of the next 5, 3 home fixtures against lesser opposition as well. I definitely think it is start to kind of maybe bring some of these players back in, or at least give some of these players who we have been benching over the past few weeks a chance in our side. We're obviously going to start off with Anthony Gordon. Now, with the injury to Isak in the game against Aston Villa, we don't know the kind of length of that injury or the severity of that injury. If that is a kind of serious injury, I do think Anthony Gordon is going to be playing up top for Newcastle United. So getting an out of position player at 6.1 million who has the capability to finish off some wonderful opportunities, I think that could be a massive FPL tick goldmine, little cheat code identified there. We always love a player playing out of position, because if he's playing up front, he's going to get that extra point for clean sheet, that extra point for a goal as well, which is absolutely massive and should help him tick along the bonus point system. But for me, Anthony Gordon has been in my team for a long time. I'm very happy to have him. Should have probably played him tonight, but I didn't. Thankfully, his assist did get taken off him, correctly as well. It wasn't an assist, but the data-wise, it hasn't quite been there for Anthony Gordon over the past few weeks, as, Newcastle's performance as well. But I think that Villa win tonight will potentially spark something, and with some positive fixtures, I think they will start to go on a little bit of a run and build some momentum. Kieran Trippier, for me, obviously there's limited assets, I think, to pick from Newcastle. A lot of them are going to be in the defensive areas, aside from Anthony Gordon, mainly down to injuries. I think prior to this, I probably would have had Isak in this, but with him picking up another injury, I do think that does rule him out as a potential option. But if he is ruled fit, I think he could be a great shout as a forward replacement. Maybe if we're looking at like the likes of Julian Alvarez, maybe you've had enough of Watkins, we will go on to talk about him. Maybe some of those other players as well. Isak could offer himself up with a very positive run for Newcastle United. Kieran Trippier is the next defender we're going to talk about. Now, for me personally, I just don't think I would go for him. 6.7 million does seem a little bit steep, and as you can see from the data, hasn't really been cooking over the past 5 game weeks. Neither have Newcastle, to be fair. Maybe, like I said, this performance and this result is going to spark something with some positive fixtures coming up. But I think with us trying to get, Haaland back in our sides, Son and Salah potentially returning as well to the game in a few game weeks' times. Double game weeks, we're wanting people like KDB, we're wanting potentially Trent Alexander-Arnold. If Liverpool double as well, I just don't quite see the justification and the kind of reasoning behind going for Kieran Trippier for me. So if it was me, I probably would put him down as an avoid. A man, on the other hand, who I think could be a very nice tidy asset, same with Sven Botman as well, it is Fabian Schär. Him and Sven Botman do have very similar numbers. I've just put Schär in here because obviously he did score the 2 goals against Villa tonight. Do not be expecting that from him every single week. He does pop up occasionally with the odd goal. Probably should have got himself a hat-trick tonight, but obviously I think he probably is going to see a huge rise in increase, probably get a price increase as well, up to 5.3, potentially even 5.4. Maybe a couple like knee-jerky people bring him in, they'll see the positive fixtures, they see that he got two goals and expect that on a regular basis. I wouldn't. I probably would be expecting though him to potentially pick up 3 clean sheets out of the next 5 to 6 games. I think that would be a very, steady return. It's exactly the same with Sven Botman. I do feel Fabian Schär, though, does just have that little bit more attacking outlet over Sven Botman. Ollie Watkins is the next player that I wanted to talk about. Obviously, I've seen quite a few people maybe looking to move him on, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, especially before this Newcastle game. I got, the vibe that he hasn't quite been at the races, as you can see over the past 5 game weeks. 1 goal, 2 assists. It is what it is, but it's not great, is it? And I do get that. The data isn't there as well. But for me, I think Ollie Watkins was always going to remain a staple in my side. Look at the fixtures coming up. Sheffield United away, absolute goldmine for him next week. Then United at home, probably a little bit uneasy, and which way to call that one I probably don't know. Then Fulham away, again a very another like Jekyll and Hyde side. Some days they'll win, some days they'll lose. You would have to say Villa are probably the favourites in that one. Then Nottingham Forest in blank game week 26, so a really good fixture there. And then Luton in game week 27. So for me, I would be looking to keep Ollie Watkins, even if it does mean potentially hampering you going for Erling Haaland. I think that's what a lot of people are going to potentially do. Get rid of Watkins, bring in Haaland, but with some really, really strong fixtures and them playing in the blank game week 26, I think for me, Watkins has to remain in your side. Obviously did score a 2nd goal tonight as well. It was ruled out for offside, but I think a lot more people in the narrative around Watkins would have been completely flipped if he would have picked a brace up. I feel a lot more people would have been, suggesting buying him this week with Sheffield United around the corner. He does offer himself up as a potential captaincy option against the Blades as well. You're looking through the other teams and their fixtures. Liverpool have got Arsenal, so that probably rules out Saka. And then you're probably only realistically looking at the likes of Manchester City with Brentford if Haaland is fully fit and available. But other than that, Watkins does offer himself up maybe as a cheeky little differential captain as well. He should do quite well in this game week and should do well over the next few weeks as well. So if I had Watkins, I probably would be looking to keep him. The only reason I would take him out is if it does mean that I can get back to Erling Haaland. If we see on Wednesday that he plays, you know, and he's fully fit and available for that Saturday game against Brentford, because he will be arguably the most captain player. So you want to have him back for then. But that would be probably the only reason that I would be looking to sell Ollie Watkins. I get the performances and the kind of FPL points haven't been there over the past few weeks, but trust me, keep faith. There's really good fixtures coming up for Aston Villa. I do think he will be back in the goals amongst the next few weeks. I think he just needed to kind of break that duck. He'll start to go on a little bit of a scoring streak, in my personal opinion. Some real positive fixtures. And like I said, plays in blank game week 26 as well, which is always a huge plus. And the final section of today's video is all going to be about Olise and Eze. I was going to cover these two in more depth, but both of them unfortunately did pick up injuries in the game against Sheffield United, but they have been cooking in that game especially as well. Obviously, Olise picking up 2 assists and a goal, and then Eze picking up 2 goals as well. These two are mesmeric at times. They are brilliant players to watch. 2 of my favourite players in the Premier League, but it's just a shame they never fit. And I feel a lot of people will see the scorelines tonight, will see that they've put in good performances, but won't see the fact that they have picked up injuries. I think obviously if we get positive encouragement from Roy Hodgson, I think it's going to be a difficult call to potentially go for one of these two. I probably am slightly leaning more towards Olise. I think he just does have that little bit more flair power and explosivity in his game, and obviously took the last penalty for Crystal Palace away at Manchester City. Both him and Eze were on the pitch. Eze gave him the ball, he scored and levelled that game up there. So I think Olise would be the penalty taker and probably the one that I would be going for. But like I said, both of them did come off with a knock. I feel if one is available and one isn't available, does potentially hinder their value a little bit more. Obviously, the game against Brighton is going to be an absolutely huge one. It always is, the derby for them. And there's some, you know, pretty good fixtures after that as well. Chelsea, Everton, Burnley in the blank game week 26 could be a huge one. Maybe if you're on a free hit, or maybe you're looking to kind of acquire some players for that one. But I definitely think for now, I would be recommending holding off buying Olise and Eze. I've already seen quite a few transfers in for Olise before people seeing that he did actually go off the game injured. So just hold on those transfers for both these guys until we get Roy Hodgson's press conference and before Saturday's deadline as well. Before bringing any of them in, just wait. Let's see if they're fit first. Then we can potentially take a look at whether or not we think they're good FPL assets. Thank you very much for watching today's video, ladies and gentlemen. If you do enjoy any of the content that you see, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as we are trying to hit 5,000 subs on the channel. But thank you very much for watching and good luck this game week.